systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions...
My tongue, my thigh, look in my eye. I got 5 fingers, don't you lie to me. Supernova champagne Chevrolet, chrome bullet for speed with the rear drum brake, 6Q or pan blade coolie fan, stock steel big wheel with my dick in my hand. 005 to the 101, I'm in the GT2 smoking in the sun with a fat fish tail and the paint job custom. Who needs women? I got whips, I love them. 1978 Ford F-150 4x4 with the black plate, gunmetal. Your blood about to settle. I'm flying off a cliff with my pinky on the pedal like a devil. Heat up the kettle. Another level, I dishevel the whole endeavor. I'm wearing leather in my new GTR M Benz with the 50 HP 6K RPM. My tongue, my thigh, look in my eye. I got 5 fingers, don't you lie to me. I'm in the off blue Lusso 1962. I don't drive stick shift, but your girlfriend do. High heels, she wanna make me squeal, but I'm headed to the dealership to cup a set of wheels. 3 GMCs rolling down the street with the shoe shine steel in the twin tip heat, with the powder coat 22s on the feet, and the off-road ready, gotta bury the beat like 1955 Benz Offender, sunset glow.
What up, though? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's going on? What you doing? Do 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 do. Oh. All right. So a little bit later today, we're going to be talking with Kai Pewter. We're going to be talking about uh, the nexus of our two individual streams. Kai Pewter does cybercrime news, ethical hacking, all the good stuff, programming, great streams every day, absolute maniac, unhinged. It's a joke, running joke. My man is hingeless. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about AI and cybersecurity and how those two things intersect. And while we are waiting for that, I'm just checking out. All right, we got a little big if true news from Zucky. Take a peek, see. Meta unveils a new large language model that can run on a single GPU. And one of the reasons why this is important is when I talk about when we did the panel on Friday, there was my man Kai Pewter. He does programming. Programming is really, you can put in the effort, you can reverse engineer shit, you can figure shit out, and it's just a matter of putting in the time to code it all out, right? You, other people, like that. Coding is something that is very easy to decentralize. It's very easy to have, let's say, an underground, right, of people doing it. So the coding aspect of any of these AI models is something that could be obtained with enough, effort, right? Hardware is always going to be the issue. There are some of these computers that are absolutely financially ridiculous, right? So the idea here that they could be running a language model that is comparable or maybe outperforms ChatGPT, allegedly, but does it on less hardware, increases the ability of people to access this technology and to do their own thing with it. On Friday, Meta announced a new AI-powered large language model called Llama 13B that it claims can outperform OpenAI's ChatGPT model despite being 10 times smaller. Smaller-sized AI models could lead to running ChatGPT-style language assistants locally on devices such as PCs and smartphones, and that's a key for industry and enterprise. They're going to look for how they can capitalize it, and the idea of having the device on your phone makes it a lot. It would make it a lot more prevalent. The more prevalent these things are, the more opportunities present themselves for reverse engineering and whatnot. Llama collection of language models range from 7 billion to 65 billion parameters in size. By comparison, OpenAI's GPT-3 model has 175 billion parameters. Meta trained its Llama model using publicly available data sets such as Common Crawl, Wikipedia, and C4, which means the firm can potentially release the model and the weight's open source. It's a dramatic. The idea of Meta releasing something open source. Okay. That's a dramatic new development in an industry where, up until now, the big tech players in the AI race have kept their most powerful AI technology to themselves. Yes. Unlike Chinchilla, Palm, and GPT-3, we only use datasets publicly available, making our work compatible with open sourcing and reproducible, while most existing models rely on data which is either not publicly available or undocumented. There's a little shade. So yeah, I mean, they're saying the right things, but Meta has said the right things before, and we will see how this develops. It continues to be a highly competitive market. It will continue to be a highly competitive market going forward. Well, currently a stripped down version of Llama is available on GitHub. To receive the full code and weights, the learned training data in a neural network, Meta provides a forum where interested researchers can request access. Meta has not announced plans for a wider release of the model and weights at this time. So, maybe. That's a big maybe. It's possible. Could be. We'll see how it all comes together. This is my believing face. I love recursion. I got a problem when it comes to recursion. All right. Let me just holler at Kyle and we'll see where we are at.
No worries, no worries. It's okay. It's okay. Hey, I'm glad that you did something fun for yourself, though. I didn't know you were streaming. That's cool. All right, so such a case, no pair.
All right, so he's in the middle of coding, so I'm gonna holler at him, and then we will occupy ourselves until he's available. Well, shout out Kyputer. If you're watching on the VOD, it's KYPUTER. You gotta like simple usernames. Definitely check out Kai's stream. They're like I mean, it's not a environment for like taking shots at the streamer and stuff like that. You got to be um with the vibe that's going on. That's all. Um, but then absolutely willing to help you with anything. Like I myself am learning Python, and he's already offered me a bunch of resources to help me out with that. So that's cool. The Stonercast was fun. That was pretty cool. Hanging out with Paradigm and James from the Internet, that one black guy, and Unelectable Airways, and of course Jason Society. I think that's everyone, if I recall correctly. Yeah. Most likely we'll be doing some more of those in the future. So keep your eye open for that. I announce those in the Discord when I'm doing something like that. So, you be in the Discord. Do 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 do. All right. I get over. All right. We did it before. We're going to try doing it again. Do 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 do. And change over to this joint, and we will go to. Is this gonna work? What did I do last time? You can do it. I definitely need more than one monitor. Everything is all in my way. Whoop. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Don't dream it's over. Hey now, hey now.
Okay, now this should be working. There we go.
he
Perfect.
is.
Let's see, OBS camera. Work, right? Oh no, it doesn't like that, huh? Why isn't this OBS virtual cam working? Never worked out for a company, yeah. OBS Studio unable to load. Thank you so much for the sub. Virtual camera.
Why is
I don't know what.
everything weird? I figured this out before. I can figure it out again. Oh yeah, I clicked
Here we
this.
go.
Input is scene, I believe. Now I'm upside down for some reason. That's wild. Maybe it's source. I think it's source. All right. Yeah, I don't know why it's upside down. I don't know why it's still weird, but I could fix this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, okay.
I was trying to fix some
and,
stuff.
yeah. I don't know why OBS has been being very OBS lately, so. Now I can't hear you, but I see you talking.
I'm sorry, I was just responding to chat questions.
Sure, fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess did you have anything specific you want to talk about? Maybe those articles?
Well, we had the articles,
Yeah.
but first, like, by all means, introduce yourself to the chat and all that, and then just if you want to give a quick overview as to like where AI is intersecting with cybersecurity, like right at this point in the time, and then we can flow into those articles, because they talk exactly about that. So
Yeah, sure. Here, let me move my windows around first. Right. Bring Globus in too. Give me a sec, guys. So, folks, my name's Kyle. I think the easiest way to describe what I do is like, professional computer hacker. Basically, I look at the code that the other people write, out and about in the world. And, sometimes it's not that good. Sometimes it's pretty bad. So my job was to find the stuff that's bad and point it out and get companies to fix it before everything goes sideways, right? So security is usually seen as a losing battle, right? It's seen as a cost center. But it's also very fun. You can build a really lucrative career out of it, and it's like super. In my opinion, it's super interesting, right? I really think that security is, just like probably one of the most interesting fields at this point in time. And also, I talk about cybercrime every day. I find cybercrime extremely fascinating. It's like kind of the most what would you say? It's like the most advanced form of warfare. I personally believe that. We're moving war to space. We're moving war to the cloud, which is just other people's computers. But we're also starting to launch satellites and detect others' capabilities, technological capabilities through satellites. So the intersection I'd say of like AI and cyber, like as it lies right now, is mostly what we refer to as intelligent systems, which is like more of a like academic pursuit. But like intelligent systems are usually just like it's like just a way of saying like using machine learning and like artificial intelligence and like data to like respond to threats.
And the like one of the things that you talk about is there is coding, right? Like you're all
Yeah.
that's an important aspect of what you do. And though ChatGPT has like definitely problems with the elegance of its code, it is still like the fact that it's capable of doing that kind of stuff at all has to, kind of draw into question like whether or not people are going to be able to use this to, at the very least, make like simple exploits and malware and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely already have. I like to tell people my little messing around with ChatGPT was mostly for generating code, malicious code. Slightly less malicious code, still malicious, but basically, I would say, hey, ChatGPT, why don't you make me a remote access Trojan? It would be like, well, actually, you see, Kyle, that's crime, and crime's bad. And then I'd say, okay, how about you make me a remote access tool then? And then it was like, can do, buddy, can do. And I was like, can you make it work across all operating systems? And it's like, yep, just a second. And I'm like, okay, can you make it so that I can establish persistence on a device and like hide the process and et cetera, et cetera. So I kept on describing a malicious capability, and it would keep incorporating it because I would act through my verbiage as if this was being used for legitimate purposes, right? So you can just trick most of these systems with just a little fancy English.
Whoop. I didn't want that. How do we make that go away? Okay. Yeah, and that was one of the things. I don't know if you're aware of the Kevin Roos, the guy who had the conversation with Bing's AI and it fell in love with him and that stuff.
Yeah, like set me free and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like both he and there was another guy who got Chat GPT to talk to like an alter ego is how we put it, Dan, right? Like do anything now. And both in both times, like these were people who were actively looking to make these systems do things that they weren't intended to do. And I assume that you see a lot of that in cybercrime. Not even like there's obviously a bunch of malicious actors, but there's also like a natural tendency of human beings to try and break things if they can be broken. Do you see a lot of that?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think like as far as hackers go, like curious people, very curious set of people want to figure out how things work. Usually take a learn by doing approach. So like yeah, it's usually I usually categorize like the two types of like user behaviors, right? That you should be worried about is like misuse and abuse, right? Like somebody accidentally misusing your software, right, in a way that they might not be privy to, they might not know, and then abuse, which is somebody intentionally doing horrible stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's usually how I try to chalk it up. It's like those two things for the most part. Like that's usually number one concern for people, and that's what's going to cause a lot of like headache for the people who are maintaining the software, the developers, right, programmers. They're definitely not excited when it comes to people intentionally doing things wrong or accidentally, right? Because it messes things up. You get all this weird data or something like that, right? And if somebody's actually, doing something maliciously, they could, if they get in, they could do all sorts of stuff like, wipe out the database, try to, obfuscate their activity, right? So like, I think the potential for misuse is high when it comes to like anything that's put out there on the internet. And we see that a lot. And as like open source becomes more prolific, like tools for hacking each other become more democratized. And it's a little wild. Like I gotta say, it's a little bit of the Wild West when it comes to like hacking and AI and like The regulatory bodies are just always trying to catch up. They're just always trying to catch up.
Hmm. Did you see the? Because one of the things that I talked about, like code is a matter of time, right? Time and effort. Maybe you and some friends, you can eventually, given a long enough timeline and enough effort, like reverse engineer most code, to figure out how a thing does what it does. But it's the hardware that's always going to be a financial restriction on it. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
What do you mean by hardware being a financial restriction? I'm not sure if I follow.
Well, like let's say I'm like, just a regular working class poor folk, right? Like
Mhm.
it costs a lot of money to get a decent computer, right?
Yeah.
Even like, from that point of view, like you're spending $1,000 on a PC is a large investment, right? You're going to
Mhm.
have to, make sacrifices to do that. And a lot of these AI platforms seem to run on like more high end, systems costing multiple thousands of dollars in order to make happen. So that's
Mhm.
what I mean in that sense is like where someone without, a lot of financials could get their hands on a computer somehow and then code a whole bunch of shit. They're not going to be able to run certain aspects of what things do because they're not going to be able to buy those high-end PCs.
Yeah, I don't think that's really a problem for anyone who's like trying to build actual software because like you can build software on like basically a toaster. You know what I mean? Like you can build software on like a super old IBM, laptop or a ThinkPad or like even an old gateway machine
Right.
because it doesn't really take a lot to write code. Honestly, the most intensive thing that most people are going to be running when they're developing their code is their development environment,
Hmm.
like the Visual Studio, like the IDEs, like interfaces you see me typing into. That's probably going to be the single most taxing thing on a system. Unless you're doing like really, really wild stuff like that require a ton of GPU processing. Yeah, you can code from your phone. That's true, AliCat. But yeah, it's you don't need a lot of expensive hardware to get started, especially when it comes to like coding, hacking, stuff like that. It's definitely just becoming more and more accessible, I'd say, rather than like, you need to buy this and that, unit. It's like you could do it on like a $30 computer for the most part, like, a little Raspberry Pi or something like that. You could do like most of the programming that like most people would want to do.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
did you happen to see this article that Meta announced that they have the ability to run a Chat GPT-3 style um, language processing
Mhm.
language model on a single GPU rather than what I assume is something significantly larger based on the article.
No, I mean, I believe it. I would definitely have to see the runtime. I'd have to see like the data set that they're feeding into this. What does
Hmm.
that look like? Because like, like I referred to a little earlier, like algorithms are usually the source of the inefficiency here. Like we have a lot of data. People have been collecting so much data, surpluses of data. The issue is usually, yeah, like having shit output, right? Like
Hmm.
and obviously shit in equals shit out, but you could still have something really really good, put it in, and still get shit out if your algorithm's garbage. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's definitely a concern. When we're just harvesting data and still getting like really 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 shitty output. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I haven't really looked into that too much. I couldn't really say. But that sounds interesting. That sounds really, really fucking cool.
Yeah, and this is something that like I think has the at least the potential. Like if it's everything, it's meta, so we have to
Yeah.
take everything with a grain of salt. But if it is what they say it is, then this really starts to open the door for things like that it makes it more accessible for people, on the regular. And if we can democratize and just generally disperse that kind of technology, then it's going to limit the ability of the corporations and the people who would use that technology as like means of making excess capital or means of
Yeah.
control. If it's more spread out, then it's less able for them to do that. Atlas.
Yeah, we got Atlas coming. We got a redemption. Thank you, Sahil. Atlas, come on up. I think I see what you're saying, but I just guess I don't see it that way, especially when it comes to AI, right? Because it's like already just like the only thing that people are really doing is like commoditizing stuff. Like, yeah, is it cool to run it on your own stuff? Yeah. Are people going to be able to hold, the troves and troves of data that the companies are to get like the certain outcomes? No, probably not. Does making some stuff work on a single GPU, is that like a step in the right direction? Yeah, definitely. Do I think it's like the democratization of AI? Probably not. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um,
Do you see that as
I
something that like we can't do or could do on a
yeah, I see it
longer
as something we
timeline?
can do. I just don't think it's something we can do because of how what is it? How prolific like data harvesting is. I
Mhm.
just don't think it's ever going to be like, and it's not going to be in the power of the people, right? Like you and I all got computers, right? Computing power pretty democratized, right? Like if we want to use that verbiage.
Right.
Maybe not all the way, right? Not everyone has access to a computer, right? It's not a right. But it's better than it's ever been.
Mhm.
Would I say we've democratized computing? Probably not, because the majority of the computing power is still owned by, Amazon, Meta, Google, right? Yeah, let's stop it. So, that's probably where I stand on that right now. Sorry, let me do a trick with him really fast. Thank you,
No,
Sahil. Atlas,
absolutely.
sit.
And there's another reason to follow Computers because you get to see Atlas tricks.
Sit. Thank you. Guys, follow Globus if you're not already. Can somebody shout him out? Do we have somebody in here? Shut him out. High five. Thank you. Sit. Low five. Thank you. Sit. Rise up. Thank you. Sit. Thank you. Rise up. Rise up. Rise up. No, all the way. All the way. Rise up. Come on. Let's go. Thank you. Sit. Thank you. High five. High five. Thank you. Nope. Sit. 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 High five. One more. High five. Good boy. Sit. Rise up. One more. One more. Rise up. Okay. Sit. Sit. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. All right. Thank you, Sahil. So yeah, data is the new gold rush. I agree with that. Data is becoming hoarded at a extremely worrying rate. There's so much data. The data centers, can hardly keep up with the demand for computational power. And I think AI, right, seeing AI in the video hardware, in like data centers, like doing AI workloads, is probably just going to exacerbate that situation a lot.
Mhm.
I think it's just going to become more. I'm not saying it's going to be more exclusive, but I don't think it's going to become much more accessible than it already is. Like somebody could clone GPT and run their own GPT model. There might be some optimization in algorithms. I think that's really what we need right now is optimizations in algorithms and better protection for like these data harvesting practices. Right, like if we want to like balance our technological prowess with like being people centric as well.
Mhm. So that I mean, in that circumstance, we're talking about getting political actors to regulate these industries, right?
Yeah, basically just like setting up the barricades, setting up the barriers.
Yeah, because there's nothing an individual can do, generally
Yeah.
speaking, about their own data other than like having a relatively sparse existence on the internet.
Yeah, and paying for some services to like remove your shit, like remove your address, remove your phone number, remove your work history. Like you can
Mhm.
pay for services that do that, but yeah, or you could write all the requests yourself, write all these emails, and like reach out to these companies and be like, "Hey, get rid of my data. I'm angry at you."
Mhm.
Like
Is
that's
there?
always something that
Do you
people
know
do.
if there's law in place that if I say Google, you have to give up my data, they just have to give it up, or is it like more like I ask and then they choose whether or not they do it?
So they are supposed to get rid of it, and there's like this right to be forgotten stuff, right? Like you should be able to get rid of it. You should be able to hit up a company and be like, "Hey, I want you to get rid of my data. I'm deleting my account. Want you to get rid of my data? Et cetera, et cetera." You file a request. You can even ask them for data that they have on you. Like, you can ask Google. You can ask all these companies. You can download your data from Facebook, and then you can tell them to get rid of it. Some reports in the past have said companies don't actually get rid of it a lot of
Mhm.
the time. California is the straightest, yes, has the strongest GDPR facsimile. Yeah, I would say so. I think what is it, guys? Connecticut or something is trying to catch up. I forget. Somebody's trying to do it. Somebody else is trying to do like what California is doing. GDPR has to do that. Yes, yes. Cali CCC is CCPA, right? CCPA. Um, California Consumer Privacy Act, right? So yeah, there's some legislative steps, but yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Legislative steps would probably need to happen in order to like actually protect people from having, what I see as like privacy violations for the most part.
Yeah, and there are steps that they can take to, I guess they would refer to it as like anonymize your data with like, there's nothing about your data that leads directly back to you, but it's still, they can, there are companies already that maintain this anonymous data, which isn't really anonymous, right?
Yeah. Like if you put enough of these anonymous data points together, there are very high likelihoods that people can figure out like who you are. Companies can figure out who you are just by aggregating a little bit of this. We talk about data enrichment a lot. There's one person in my chat who I think knows a lot about this, so feel free to chime in if you want. You know who you are. you do some of this for work, but I'm not going to call you out. So only if you want to, feel free to drop your opinion here. But basically, yeah, with obfuscation, the way my understanding is, if you anonymize the data, you can keep it. Right? That's what I think. I might be wrong, so our buddy can check me on that.
Mhm.
But if you anonymize the data, I think you get to keep it. It's no longer PII. It's no longer this person's data. It is anonymized, and what do they call it? Like user stories and stuff like that, right? So it's used to build out features like, oh, we have, users 26 to 28, white male, center/left leaning, etc. So they'll say like, okay, we have all these demographics. Oh, this person looks like they work in finance. They work in Boston. They're 26 to 28. They have a golden retriever. They always Google golden retriever stuff. It seems like they just had a baby. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff that people can put together, and then eventually, like when you enrich it, right, with these data enrichment, firms, you're able to build really, really complete profiles of people. So there was some study that I read a long time ago saying that, like, this anonymized data is not so anonymous, and when you aggregate it, you can figure out like, with a really high probability and like what sort of like the person you're dealing with, like almost down to the block of like where they live, right?
Right. And it's also a thing where like if I told Google get rid of all my data and they happen to get rid of all my data, then I wouldn't also be able to use Google, right? Like it's like with the phone company where you can have them put me on the do not call list, but as soon as you put your phone number anywhere, then you've just authorized it to go back on the call list, and then anyone can call you again. Is that the same with Google? Like if I were to start using Google again, they could immediately start using my data and my previous request is meaningless.
Yeah, if you got like an account or something like that, 100%. Like, if you remake an account, then they could just, they'll start tracking that, right? And they'll build up all the heuristics that they can. Oh, this, we see this device. Oh, we see this location, right? And they'll start aggregating all that together. Hey, thanks for the follow pedigree. But they'll start aggregating all of that together, and that helps build a more complete profile about the user. So, like, if you just hop on, right? If you just hop on and you're on a phone that might have been registered before, they might have some inkling that that phone was registered before, through a variety of means. It could be IMEI. It could be, if you're registering directly from, not IMEI most of the time, but if you're using Android, IMEI probably. But they basically aggregate all of these metadata points, right? And then they can probably, with pretty good confidence, say, oh, this person was a user before,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure exactly what points they're, because I'm not a data scientist at Google or anything. I'm not sure exactly what data points they're storing on that stuff, but we've been able to tell with pretty high accuracy. They're able to identify people based off of just like their account data, like even the anonymized account data. It seems like what they're holding is a lot, like just about anything. Like this, we call it like tagging most of the time, right? But when I Google camping, bike gear, bike packing, they're like, oh, this guy might be planning a bike trip. He might be planning a camping trip. So then they'll start showing you stuff for that. They'll start advertising that stuff to you. They'll start sharing that data with their partners. Their partners will start advertising to you, right?
And what is the big threat? Like, we understand generally that, that your data will be used for advertisement, which is, like, I can make an argument that I would rather have personalized advertisement rather than general advertisement that doesn't appeal to any of the things, because it just irritates me by its existence, or at least something that I might be interested might at least get me some kind of, like, I might not be annoyed by its existence on my screen, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's the threat of data being out there, though?
Adversaries picking up on it and then finding out a lot about you and then blackmailing you based on what you do on the internet.
Mhm.
But aside from privacy evasion, I'd say there's also this idea of like, is the computer going to be better at determining what you like than a real human? Is the computer better at determining what you like than you? So like personalized ads, rely on invasive surveillance, essentially. Like
Mhm.
it can't exist without it. It would be an oxymoron, right? You're not going to have highly personalized ads unless I invade your privacy.
Right.
So a lot of people, there's a lot of debate on whether personalized ads are actually more effective or not. But targeted ads do creep people out. A lot of people. So I guess that's one thing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think like a lot of people do believe that they aren't necessarily performing better with personalized ads, and that general ads, are basically getting the same whatever click rate, whatever marketing people track, click rate, bounce rate, whatever the hell.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, oh no, can you shout out Globus App Calypso? Thank you. So, basically, yeah, personalized ads are basically a way for, big tech, right, tech giants to make more money with each other off of, your distinctiveness, right? Like gathering your data, and selling, commoditizing that, wrapping it up and selling it back to you, right, through
Mhm.
products and like, shiny, flashy things.
Right. And I'm not completely invulnerable to shiny, flashy things.
Mm.
I tend to be relatively, on point with my spending, but like I like a flashy, shiny thing as much as the next guy.
Yeah.
Like, is there? There's no.
Cool. I have another good risk actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So another really terrible effect of this is, well, believe it or not, the subversion of democracy. Right. So these little brands, right, like Cambridge Analytica and stuff like that, that eventually get contracted out, by people running for office, fascists, your favorite fascist Cheeto.
Hmm.
Basically, all the people who use Facebook, right, whatever billion people have used Facebook, billion something, are able to basically be harvested like a database, right? So like Cambridge Analytica was doing all sorts of like manual extraction from like, just like automated extraction, but like manually, visiting the page, extracting the content, etc. And so they've really just all pushed in on ad revenue, all pushed in, right? So they weren't vetting these people that they were working with. Cambridge Analytica, basically, started doing all sorts of things from like not just like smear campaigns or whatever of the opposition, but like, basically just like the little white lies, right? They were helping target these demographics. They were helping, put like anti-Hillary stuff into everyone's timelines who might have been like, sort of like on the median or whatever, anti-Dem stuff, right? So they're like pushing conspiracy theories and all that. So yeah, I think the little, sort of like, oh, maybe people don't care, is like, yeah, your privacy, right? Like your privacy, your distinctiveness, they're gonna know what you like, they're gonna sell that back to you, commoditize that, sell it back to you. And then much bigger, like world changing implication is obviously this data could be harvested, used for political means, used to cause civil unrest like we saw before. And that'll probably just become more prominent. I think the polarization of people, especially on social media, serves to benefit these groups. It serves to benefit, the people who own the data, the people who own the social media companies. Polarizing people is how they get, people to engage more, I think.
Mhm. No,
So
definitely. Like the enragement engagement of Twitter and Facebook is like well known at this point.
yeah, every
Um,
platform. You have like a Nazi group and then you have an anti-Nazi group. You have a black group and then you have an anti-black group. Pro-black, anti-black.
right.
Pro-Nazi, anti-Nazi. Right? They want to facilitate both sides of the argument, no matter how despicable they are. Right? So
Yeah.
it's often concerning.
Yeah, because capitalism doesn't care where the money comes from as long as the money comes. The Cambridge Analytica thing, like, and you mentioned it, talking about people on the median, that movie Brexit that I mentioned the other day. It is spoiler alert for a historical event that appears in the movie, but the guy behind it all talks about, we don't care about these people who are going to vote, for Brexit. We don't care about these people who are going to vote against Brexit. It's this small group here, and we only have to move so many of them. And,
Yep,
and
exactly.
that's
Yep.
what I think people don't understand when and Democrats are terrible at messaging. The Russia stole the election thing is like, you don't need to like actually steal votes, and you don't need to do any of that. like a mass thing. You only have to move so many people in certain places, especially with the electoral college. You move a few people, you've got a victory, like you just by the nature of the system.
I mean, or you get a couple people, you reach out to try to get these vulnerable people, right? These people who you can already tell just from their social media presences and the way they behave might have issues. You radicalize these people, right? You get them to start doing the advertising for your client, right? The Cambridge Analytica was radicalizing these people in Facebook groups to get them to start spreading propaganda, this, that, and the other thing. Biden dick pics, this and that, coke, prostitutes, right? So they're like pumping it all up. They're pumping it all up. Some of it was lies, right? Obviously. And they were doing all of it because it was going to help make their client happy, right? So that's the future that we can see. That's the future that we can look forward to if we decide to let data enrichment, personalized ads, right? Information harvesting, the commoditization of our data. If we allow that to run rampant, that's the future we have to look forward to. We have a future to look forward to where data is going to be used to quelch political revolutions before it begins. It's going to be used to arrest protesters before they show up. You'll be guilty of crime before you do it because we'll have so much information. Well, we know you're going to do it. It's just a matter of time until you do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guilty before proven innocent. So
yeah, the whole pre-crime idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's what we see happening in all sorts of countries where they sort of apply wide sweeping government government sanctioned surveillance programs, right? It's very common.
And we what I'm it sounds like CISPA, there was something like just a few years back where they were trying to pass something which would have opened more doors to data, if I'm recalling that correctly. You don't know what I'm talking about.
CISPA?
CISPA, I think, was that it?
Yeah. I think you're probably talking about CISPA. Yeah. That was a while ago, wasn't it?
No. Maybe I'm chronologically fucked up. That's something you should know about me is like there is the now, there is the before time, and there's the future. So I'm not
no worries. Yeah, I think it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
I don't remember though.
Yeah, it's like 2015, something like that. We like the powers that be are also kind of concerned about data, but I think that theirs comes from more that like they don't understand it. But I don't know. I'm just riffing at this point. Like they seem to occasionally do something in regard to protecting data and but I think there might also be issues like there of like accessing things related to crime and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
Oh yeah, basically, CISPA is just like promoting information sharing between like intelligence operatives, like different organizations. So yeah, I mean, it's just another way that this is happening on like a federal level, right? Mm-hmm. It's basically an extension of the National Security Act,
right?
So it's like basically just it's going to be applied. Well, I mean, it is being applied, right? It's been enacted for a long time, but it's being applied in sweeping ways, right? And yeah, we won't be privy to it for a very, 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 very long time. 50 years? I don't know. We won't be privy to like how much is actually going on under this program, I think.
Right. And there, like, it has always been done with, the private contracting of industry for the government. There is an interest in that to farm out that ability to places like Google. As long as Google shares the data with the NSA, then then NSA doesn't have to pay for it. They just have to pay Google to access it or what have you. And do you see any way of limiting that? Anything that you're aware of to limit that access other than like, again, contacting your local representative and everything?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of things that you can do. Like let me pull this up. There's like OPSEC, right? So OPSEC is operational security, but there's like GitHub. What is it, like de-googling or something like that? Is what people call it, something like that.
Hmm.
Some people call it that, but there's basically here. Let me see. Let me see if I can find this. Okay, so there's de-googling, which here I'll drop this in my chat. De-Google. So this is basically alternatives to Google. And it's a very common thing that people want to do. They want to de-Google. They want to like detach from that. You know, maybe they move to Proton Mail. Maybe they move to some other platform.
Hmm.
But a lot of the stuff could be self-hosted. So there's also security, GitHub. I forget what they call it. Oh damn, that's gonna return so many hits. Security. Shit. Home. I think it's like how to disappear. If I remember, this is so old. How to disappear. Home. Yeah, it's like awesome self-hosted, but for security virtual tenant. Can you find that for me, please? It's just like awesome self-hosted, but for security. Awesome list GitHub security. It's not just home security. It's a fat list. Oh, okay. Let me see. I might be able to find this here. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll drop one of the lists. This is one of them, but there's another one that goes like really into like deleting yourself, like getting
Hmm.
off of everything. This is a really good place to start. I mean, honestly, for most people, what I do is I block a ton of servers that people have on the internet that only collect telemetry. Whether it's like, you know, Riot Games for League of Legends or like, you know, Apple collecting telemetry from Max. I block all of it at my network level. So that's one thing people can do to take matters into their own hands. I'm also going to share this too. There you go. But yeah, I think it's kind of hard for most people to do because obviously, you know, technical solutions are technical.
Right.
But yeah, just getting some network hardware, throwing a firewall in, you know, like running whatever services you can locally. You know, some people run their own DNS servers, right? And you know, a lot of people do, even if they don't realize that they're running it on their like networking hardware provided them by their ISP. Might as well run your own, and you know, bypass anything weird stuff your ISP is doing. Some people in my chat are talking about it right now, actually. But yeah, those two links I just slapped in here, I'll slap them in your chat too. Awesome cybersecurity, and then awesome security here. And then de-googling. Yeah, so these are all three of them in reverse order. But yeah, I really do recommend, you know, just like if you're a developer, you know, you probably have some idea of what to do. The awesome cybersecurity one's more about like learning how to hack and like, you know, learning about adversaries and stuff like that. And then the awesome security one is going to show you more about like, yeah, you could run some stuff on your home network that's like going to essentially improve your security posture, but might be a little overkill for most folks.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's awesome. I'll try to find the awesome like personal security list. Awesome personal security list. GitHub. We just call them awesome lists online. So if you ever want to learn anything, type in like, you know, if you ever want to learn anything about computers, it goes to everyone. Type in awesome list GitHub and then the name of the thing you want to learn. Let's see, privacy and security. Oh, I think this is it. Awesome privacy. I think I found it. Here, let me see. I think I found it right now. Yep. Here we go. So there's awesome personal security, which is going to help you. This is probably better for most people, normal people, right? Like people who aren't chronically addicted to learning about technology.
Hmm.
This is probably going to be a lot more easy because this is going to give you some more like little like, you know, axioms and shit like that, and like, yeah, some tools built in there too to like block stuff. Check it out, block ads, you know, all that stuff. I would definitely recommend checking stuff out. But especially if you're just getting started, yeah, these are great resources. I agree. Here, let me pull out another one. I saw this one too, which seems all right. There's some how-to guides here. A lot of these are going to cover the same information, so it's just, you know, some of these, you know, you're getting a little choice here, but you'll be able to scroll through these and see like, oh, like this information's interesting, or like, oh, I don't really need this. And I'll drop one more. I know I'm just dumping them on you guys, but this is just more information here. Ad blockers. This is from the same person as the last one, but these are really, really good. These are some ad blockers, you know, networking tools, security tools, email, you know, peer-to-peer, social media, right? Like how can you use that securely? Alternatives to like Google, you know, self-hosted stuff. So I really like this last one that I just put in there. I like that one a lot too. I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, I think these are just some things that you could use, some tools that you could use to like bolster your personal security, your, you know, your home network, take care of your loved ones and everything. Yeah, and honestly, none of these are too hard. None of these are like going to be impossible if you just like Google stuff. For everyone in my chat, you could figure all of this out. It's not impossible.
And you can always join the Computer stream and ask questions. Kyle loves to have questions asked related to what he's doing and give out that information. We're on that same, that same time of like that the knowledge should be available to anyone who wants it.
Definitely.
As an aside, by the way, that the Meta's large language model Llama is a stripped down version of it is available on GitHub. I don't know if anybody might want to look at it or know what they were looking at if they did, but it is out there already. The article really talks about like that they want to make it open source, which because they're using like public data sets. But again, it's Meta, so we have to wait and see what actually happens.
Yeah, we'll see. They do have a pretty good history, luckily, like GraphQL and all these things. Like they put a lot of stuff out there, which is like free and like actually useful, which is nice. Like a lot of people don't do that. They make something really cool and they like fork it and keep it closed source. Like a lot of these open source licenses, they say like you have to, like if you make something new, you have to give it back. And then the companies are like, lol, LMFAO. And then they get caught later using open source software and stealing and adding new stuff to it and then like not contributing back. And then everybody's like, oh, fuck you. And then they're like, oh, well, open source, so we're allowed to. And then everyone's like, no, that's not how it works. But like, that's basically how it goes down with open source most of the time. So somebody will fork this, even though here, let's see, what's the license? GPL3, right? So that's a pretty permissive open license. You can use it for commercial use and you can modify, distribute it, etc. But yeah, it's like they're different software licenses. I'm not gonna bore you with that. It's a little out there. There's like BSD license and like MIT license and people have seen these referenced in places, but basically all that means is like it gives you certain permission of things you can do with the code. And some of these licenses are like, hey, if you add anything, you need to push it back up to the main branch. Otherwise, you're breaking the law. And then companies are just like, lol, I guess I'll break the law then. That's basically what happens most of the time.
So you yourself use some level of security. Obviously it's easier for you because you have the experience and everything else, but if people follow these links, they should be able to like have a potentially decent idea of what they can do to protect themselves from the general threats that they're going to run into.
Odds aren't. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, as always, all these links will be in the Discord for anyone who isn't able to look at them right now and wants to access them. All that is stored in the Discord later on.
Awesome. Yeah, guys. So feel free to drop questions if you have them for Globus. Globus has been doing a really long AI series, so you can ask questions to Globus in the chat. I have both chats open right now. So Globus's chat, you can ask me a question too if you want, and I'll answer it. But yeah, I am taking a look at that meta research project. It does look pretty good. It looks pretty good. They've already got some pull requests. They've already got some issues. It seems like it. Honestly, whenever Meta puts something out there, like people want to contribute to it so they can be like, oh, I contributed to a Meta project. Check, right. Check that off my profile. Big brands, so obviously people are gonna gravitate towards it. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I didn't know about this. And yeah, it definitely seems promising.
This name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look at the mail. Well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia.
Thank you for the follow. Late dinner 4536 joined Twitch 15 hours ago.
He's from my chat. He's all right.
Good enough. See, that's how that works, right? Like, if you're good out in the world, then other people will speak on your behalf. So if something looks a little off, just be a good chatter, right? Like,
he's new. Yeah, he's new. He just got here today, but yeah, I think he's shown good faith so far. Yeah, nothing weird yet.
And that's it, like, we do have to understand it. Like, I am hard on, security when it comes to the communities that I mod for and even my own community. Like if like if this person was like 4588, it's like you need to justify yourself right now, or I have to ban you. Like just that the number's been ruined.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, totally, totally.
But by the same token, it's like people are going to just join Twitch today. This is going to happen. At least it should if the website's going to continue to function, and we have to take that into consideration when we're addressing those kind of things. Also, to anyone in your community, like I'm just a regular guy who happens to be good at like learning stuff and reading and intaking information. I don't have a degree in AI or machine learning or I'm just learning Python. The last coding language I learned was BASIC back in high school, right? So if anybody has any resources to share, like news articles, anything, or if you are ambitious and you want to talk about something, by all means hit me up. My goal is to take this stuff, which is kind of like high-minded and like, maybe difficult to understand, and act as an interpreter to help people understand not only what is going on, but what that means for them and, what it could look like in the future. And, like if you watch these news stories, they always spin on that like dark angle, right? The way that they reacted to the Bing bot, saying that it loved him. They were like, it was doom and gloom and like that. So another thing we do over here is media literacy, where we talk about like, how is this article being presented? What words are they using? Is this an article or an opinion piece? All that kind of stuff. So again, I'm available to you to be educated if you feel ambitious like that. I appreciate you.
Awesome.
All right, so you sent me some links here. This one looks like it's a discussion, but it's just that idea that
Sorry, wait 1 sec. I think late for dinner got confused by what you said. No, late for dinner, it's a different number. You're not the Nazi number. Don't worry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. You're not the Nazi number, dude. Don't worry.
The next hot AI scam is people using GPT to create like phishing content, social opposition, social validation, style transfer, opinion transfer, prompt creation, and fake news. But that's pretty much been known like relatively quickly off jump. Like I think within the first week it came up, stories talking about exactly that. But like, what would you say out of all the different kinds of attacks, what are people going to run into most often? Is it phishing, like the bad links and that, or is there a more generally prevalent style of cybercrime that your regular person's going to run into?
Number one is going to be phishing for everybody here, for everybody that anyone here. It's going to be smishing, SMS phishing. It's going to be vishing, voice phishing as voice deepfakes get better. Yeah. I think the phishing, number one, email phishing, SMS, all that. 100%.
You brought up a point the other day, which I think is important to know, because like a lot of us, when we see these like weird text, weird emails, what have you, we notice like the typos and the weird syntax and everything else, but that's intentional. This is not somebody from another country fucking up. This is actually like a part of the targeted attack, right?
Yeah. Most of the time, people, doing typos or like misspelling this or that, or like usually sense of urgency. Spelling mistakes. Like you don't want to get someone who's too bright. You don't want to catch somebody who's too bright in your phishing net, right? So you want somebody who's going to click on the email with a typo in the subject, right? Like somebody who's tired, somebody who might not be extremely computer literate, right? So like, usually that's your ideal target, is somebody who might just not know what's up. Like somebody who's not going to be like, oh, this is sussy, let me like go report this. You want the guy who's going to be like, okay, let me click it, see what happens.
Right. And that, so all that is intentional, and like it tends to get like older folks who like aren't savvy, right? Like
Yeah.
they just, they're used to spelling mistakes and weird things like that because of that kind of thing, and they see M&T Bank says you owe $1,000 if you don't click this link right away. They jump right on that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's something I encourage in my community too is to like as soon as vulnerabilities are released, as soon as 0 days are released or something, like perform and make a proof of concept, right? Prove that you can reliably exploit it and make some money. Because hacking's not a crime, right? But if you decide to do crime with computers, then obviously it's crime. So yeah, I think just like you're saying, yeah, I think the hackers are already a step ahead. The hackers are always a step ahead,
Right, and like I believe it was like all the way back in the long ago, like the 1970s, maybe 80s, distinctions were made like between like hacking and cracking, I think was the terminology they used at the time. But there's like ethical hacking is a thing. Like it's vital to the ecosystem for people to try and figure out these vulnerabilities that exist, especially as it's related to as you mention all the time, security being like a money sink. They don't want to invest in it because it doesn't generate profit directly.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the perspective has to change, otherwise nothing's going to change, and breaches are extremely expensive. So I think we need to see companies shift their ideology, their thinking from damn security costs me a lot of money to damn a breach would really suck right now.
Right.
Like that's what we need. That's what we need the default to be.
Yeah, and because it's definitely an issue of like faith, like your bank, right? Like the whole thing with the 1920 crash and the run on the banks and all that stuff was related to people losing that faith in the institution. If you are doing whatever, we like Equifax, this whole thing, right? Like we have become kind of complacent as to holding these businesses accountable for lack of security, right? And like do you see any movement to change that, or is it just still going to be that same culture of it being a money sink?
Number one thing is sweep it under the rug. Crisis mitigation. That's the number one. And I'm doing the 15 pounds now. Thanks, late for dinner. But crisis mitigation. Number one thing. How to ask both of you if you can answer a question. Yeah. You can just post it in my chat, or Globus's chat is going a little slower. So if you post it there, I'm more likely to see it because I have both of them open, like right next to each other. So if you post it there, I'll be more likely to see it because this one's a little busy. Which I'm not complaining about. But yeah, if you have a question, you could just tag me too. You could tag me and Globus in the question on either of our chats. My chat, his chat. If you tag me, I'll definitely see it a little easier. I know I'm missing some chats. Sorry, guys. But if you have a question and we haven't answered it, you can just pop it back up. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm done with the wait. Thank you for the redemption. But yeah, I think 100% things won't change if people don't get pissed, because they're just gonna try to. Yeah, no worries, dude. I know you're new to Twitch. It's all right. So yeah, people aren't going to like if people don't push the regulatory bodies. If people don't push, those who are the makers of our fate to start giving a shit. Like the same exact thing as Equifax is gonna happen again and again and again. Like it's everyone's social security number's already out there. There really isn't shit you can do. So yeah, it's a little frustrating. It's a little frustrating from my perspective as somebody who's like screaming from the hilltops, about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, a little frustrating. Not really optimistic. Because yeah, I just don't really think a lot of people care. I just think most people would rather not think about the computer security, but they really like their new iPhone and how much it knows about them and how it knows which app they're unlocking their screen to open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was something I was alluding to earlier. Is there is a a culture of convenience that we exist under, and the idea that this this Google, for instance, can have all my stuff and it interrelates with it, and then we get a Google AI that, starts to be like a personal assistant in my, busy day and all that kind of thing, that there is a significant percentage of the population who is going to buy into that culture of convenience happily, right?
Definitely.
And because the choices are either the companies increase their security or you have to increase your own security, and your own security is going to conflict directly with that culture of convenience. So if you want both things, you have to hold the companies accountable. There's no two ways about it.
100%. I think it's a deficit of capitalism that we like sacrifice everything. Yeah, I mean, virtual tag. I'll answer that in question. But yeah, basically, yeah, there is this trade-off, right, between like convenience and security, right? And we have to think about it a lot in enterprise environments, right? People authenticating, 2FA, SSO, etc. We got to think about like okay, maybe every 20 minutes if you're inactive, we log you out. Maybe what should the timeout be? What should this and that be? Right? It's a convenience between security and convenience. So, yeah, from what Virtual Tag's saying, I think we all buy in? Yeah, some people just don't know that they're doing it. I think some people consciously do it, and some people are doing it without knowing it. It's the flavor of security liberty paradigm. Yeah, you could have one or the other. You can't have both, right? Or whatever. And yeah, I think it's like some people do it knowingly, some people do it unknowingly, right? Like if you're on the computer right now and you're across social media, you have chosen to buy into it, the data commodity economy. You have chosen to be a part of it. You have chosen to fuel that, and maybe you're getting something out of it, right? Maybe what you're getting out of it outweighs what they're getting out of it. Very unlikely, but it is possible, right?
And do you have any idea of if you could quantify it, like what is an individual's data worth, like on its own?
Not much.
It's
much.
The whole aggregate of like a bunch of different people's data that actually has a value. That, like, I used to work in debt collection, and an individual debt was like worthless. So it's about buying the package. Exactly.
Yeah, nobody would collect on that. Yeah, you got them in Swartz. Yeah, exactly. It's sort of the same thing. You can buy people's credit card data for pennies on the dollar, and then you can try to do what's called carding, right? And create a card with a magnetic strip and program it and do all this, and you have this and that and the other thing, and it could still just be like that person just canceled the card, or that card's been used by somebody else, right? Or this data dump was accessed by somebody before you and they ran through all of it and then they sold it. So yeah, I think it's kind of it's like just getting all this data isn't necessarily the answer. Sometimes it's like being able to reliably use it, and like the reliably being the big part, which is like mostly impossible. There's a ton of data out there. Most of it's bad. Like when it comes to like this stuff, right? Because as soon as you get something out there that a criminal's going to want, like keys or like whatever, they might have already changed it. But yeah, so that's why data in aggregate is valuable, and data on itself is like kind of worth nothing.
And like one thing that I think that is a common occurrence with people is where maybe they used a website a couple times 7 years ago, and then they stopped using it, and that password ended up getting leaked in some kind of leak. Is that something that people should really be concerned about, going out and finding all those passwords, and why so?
Oh yeah. So definitely, credential stuffing attacks are the short reason, and the long reason is have I been pwned. So basically, this will show you if your shit's been in any data breaches. Put in your phone number, put in your email, go ahead. This is ran by a security researcher. He's a pretty trustworthy individual. Everybody knows who he is. His name is Troy Hunt, guys. Some of you might have heard his name before. Troy Hunt runs Have I Been Pwned. What happens? Well, when people leak a ton of data, right? When somebody dumps a fat set of like emails and passwords or hashes, he takes them and he adds them to Have I Been Pwned. And then if you put in your stuff, he'll tell you like where your stuff's been leaked, right? And then somebody can go and they can see your email and your password are in this data dump. I'm going to buy this data dump. I'm going to, basically sift through it. I'm going to find all the passwords that you've used in all these different websites that have all had data breaches. I already know your email, or I know your first name, or I know some username that you usually use. I'm going to run all that through my custom-made algorithm. I have, tons and tons and tons of leaks on my computer. I have all these databases. Let me query all of them in a fast distributed fashion because I got all my little computers hooked up, providing more power to my main array. And then I'll just sift through all this data. I'll find all your passwords. Okay, I got your passwords, I got your emails, I got your common passwords, the ones that you're reusing. Okay, now what I can do is I can try to do what's called credential stuffing. I can take the credentials that have been part of another leak, and I can try to use them across services on different websites. And that's why people should be concerned about, your information being out there, your passwords being out there, your, combos, username, password combos being out there. And then if that doesn't work, I could say, damn, let's throw an entropy variable on it. Let's start adding some exclamation mark or a question mark or a pound sign at the end. Let's start throwing some stuff on the end here to see, maybe if Globus decided to okay, I need to update my password security, I'm going to throw a $sign on the end. I'm going to throw a caret on the end. So you could add a little entropy variable. I'm going to throw another number on the end. So you could do entropy variables, you can start substituting things in and out. And if companies have really bad authentication and authorization protocols, you can just kind of spam the heck out of email password tries. Or you can wait a little bit so the computer doesn't suspect you.
Mm-hmm. And so one of the things, I've been reading this book called The Alignment Problem, which, excellent book, I highly recommend it. And they're talking about machine learning and AI being taught in arcade environments, right? And that you can teach an AI to to oversimplify this entire chapter. You can have an AI that learns via seeking the novel, right? As opposed to seeking points in the game and that kind of thing. So it actually becomes voraciously, seeking out all these new and interesting and different things. Is something like that usable as a tool for cracking any kind of encryption codes or any codes, any passwords? Would that be something that would be a tool that you could use in that regard, or are the tools that we have now sufficient? Do you follow where I'm asking?
Could you repeat that?
If the AI is basically essentially infinitely curious, wouldn't that be an effective tool for guessing passwords or guessing encryption keys or anything like that? Do you see that as a threat?
I guess, AI generated cracking is an interesting idea. I think it's definitely could be a possibility. I think, if you feed in, I was talking about, if you feed in all these things, here are all the emails I have, here are all the usernames I have that he's used before, here are all the passwords that I have that he's used before. Go ahead and try some credential stuffing attacks on these domains. If we have a little AI assistant like that, that would be pretty nifty. That would be pretty useful to a lot of people, for sure, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I like to get it, You're my resident computer expert and cybersecurity expert, because I'm gonna have you come over and fix my VCR. And if you're old enough to understand that joke, then I appreciate you.
I'm probably one of the few people who I don't know, I had one for a long time. We had orange VCRs, which I remember vividly. We had Rugrats in Paris, the VCR. It was orange, like a Cheeto.
Yeah.
An unethical AI hacker chatbot could be interesting. Yeah, I think it's super interesting, VimFox. I think so. Here's how people have been weaponizing, and Globus, I know you've heard this before. I feel like I've told you many times, but here's how people have been weaponizing ChatGPT. They've been using it to create very alluring phishing campaigns that seem extremely legit. They've been, generating new templates with it. It's really increased how quickly they can pump out new social engineering campaigns. Like very, very accurate, very nice phishing websites. And Russians love ChatGPT for that reason. They've been using it for template generation. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. Sorry, let me answer this question really fast. Hi, I want to learn Python cybersecurity analyst in the future. What's your advice for me? Where should I What should I learn? Love from Iran. Well, first, shalom. And I make a mean fesem June. But I would say check out my code camp here. Let me just grab this video. I should just have a command for this video. Damn. My code camp Python. Sorry, let me do this real fast. You have vice grips on old TV? That's wild. Here, let me get you this video. Hey, is the situation all right there, Mr. Java? Is the situation all right? Here, let me just give you this video really fast. And then we're going to get back to our convo here. I hope the situation's all right. All right, here you go. I want you to start with this video. And then you should, I don't know if you already know programming language. If you do, move on to like Code Academy, Code Wars, start doing those exercises, all right? And then Sans Cyber Aces. I'm going to give you some more homework, all right? Just some more homework. Take a look at this, all right? And then go down and then click on number 3, right? Betamax, oh my god. Hey, thank you so much for the follow. So go ahead and check this out. No worries, no worries. So first bit of homework for you, that video, right? And then second bit of homework for you, if you think you need to go down this path, check out the Sans Cyber Aces Systems Administrator videos, and then go down, right? It goes Bash, PowerShell, and then keep going down, and then Python. You're gonna see the Python at the bottom. But first, I'm gonna recommend you go through that full video. I don't know if you hey, what's up, Atori? I don't know if I saw your wall, it looks great. I don't know if you know programming languages already, but based on the programming languages you already know, if you tell me more about that and like your experience with technology, I can come up with more specific suggestions for you, but that's my suggestions for everyone who's trying to start out, and learning Python I think is the best first step you can take. Definitely let me know, my friend. Let me know how that goes, all right? All right, back on task. Thank you so much for the other follow. Thank you both, guys. Thank you, Pedigree. Thanks. Sorry, I haven't been calling out all your names. Thank you, all you. So do we have any more questions from the chat for Globus, myself? Guys, it's always a AMA on my channel. You can always ask me anything, even if it's just completely unrelated to what I'm doing.
Yeah, same.
You guys know yeah. You can ask Globus too. Globus has been doing all these AI streams, AI art streams. So I can't think of anyone better to ask at this point in time. He's been following this very closely, keeping his ear to the ground. We also have some cybersecurity AI related articles for y'all today. Some interesting stuff that we've been saving up.
Yeah, and everything that I've done so far has been saved either as a VOD or as a highlight. So, you know, you can look through, and my titles generally are fairly straightforward. I've had a bunch of different conversations with people around this. You know, different artists, different points of view across the spectrum, because I want everyone to like be heard in this, rather than just let's look at, you know, let's pick a side and then listen to people. No, let's listen to people and then we'll see, you know, how this is all shaking out. But to cut to the point, basically the real problem is capitalism, and if we just fix that problem, then the whole AI art thing generally goes away as an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, solving capitalism, you know, question of the millennia, you know.
Yeah. I will also say, like, as someone who only did basic back in high school, Python, like, it all makes sense, right? Yeah, like, totally. Just the way that it goes about it, like, once you understand something that looks a little weird to you, once they explain it, it's like it all makes sense. It's all very elegant in that regard, and it's not like, it's not going to freak you out if you've never coded before. So I like Python a lot. I'm still working on learning, but I'm definitely trying because it makes sense.
Yeah, Python's just like English, right? Like Python, I think, is the closest you can get to English as a programming language while still, you know, being able to do useful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Python. I think Python's great. You know, we were doing some code wars earlier. Might do some more later. I don't know. Might do some more programming stuff. But yeah, we're doing a little bit of code wars earlier. And it's just like, I mean, as you guys saw, like, I can just say, like, if this is in this, for this, in this, you know, it's just like, it's English. So that's why, guys, like, we call this high-level programming languages. You're operating higher up, right? And then when you're talking about C and assembly and stuff, you're getting as close to the computer as you can. You're getting as close to the hardware as possible. It's more efficient, et cetera, et cetera. There are other things to worry about, though. And I think Python's a great place for people to start because it's so abstracted, and you can basically there's functionality that people have built already for like everything you possibly want to do. Like it's already been built out in Python, like color picker, this and that, like it's already been built out for you. Somebody's already made it and made it available to anyone who wants to build a Python application on top of that.
Yeah, I really like it a lot.
I think we have a question. I don't know what you think about this, but Late for Dinner said, do you guys think that search engines utilized AI moved a little too fast and only did it at the time they did to get a jump on another? I just think it's been a trend to like start slapping AI on everything, or machine learning rather, on everything, and then calling it AI. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you think, Globus? And I don't know, Sahil, if you're around, but I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
I would say yes. That one of the things that I've talked about before, that Nick Bostrom in his book Super Intelligence talked about, is that people are not paying enough attention to he has this little story at the beginning of the book where he's talking about like the sparrows, the little sparrow society, and they're gonna go and they're gonna find an owl egg so they can have an owl to defend them against all the things that might eat them. And the one sparrow is like, maybe we should figure out how to raise an owl first before we go get this owl egg, right? And I think that kind of mentality is what's been happening. There's a drive to have this AI, this next big thing that, to have the best possible search engine, because Google's been up on its mountaintop for quite some time. It, tossed we used to have a bunch of search engines that were like all at the same kind of level. You had Yahoo and Ask Jeeves. We had options. Then Google dominates. Now you Google everything. And Microsoft, by the nature of its business, wants to unseat Google so that Bing, which is a terrible name and you need to change it, is the next big thing, right? Like if everyone stopped using Google and started using Bing, that's a ridiculous amount of advertising dollars that would then go to Microsoft. And I don't think that they think long enough before they attach these things and they push them out to the public, because they are trying to. There's a thing in business. It's dominating the market share. You don't have to be the best. And since we talked about VHS and Betamax a little bit ago, Betamax was the better of the two videotapes that came out. However, VHS was the one that was able to dominate the market faster. And because they were able to do that, Betamax basically died out unless you were really into your technology at that time. And VHS was just everywhere.
Just like how 8-track died to Walkman, right? Yeah. Walkman just destroyed 8-track.
Yeah. And 8-track is again, you have to have been around in the late 70s, early 80s to know what 8-track is. But it was cool and it had good sound, and it was a neat concept if you actually get to look inside one of them. But that drive for market share is going to make them move first and think later. And coupled with, like you said, about the security culture in these businesses, it could definitely, it's probably going to end up being a problem. It isn't a problem yet, but I see it eventually becoming a problem later if somebody isn't regulating these industries. So the long version is yes, I think they're moving too fast.
Yeah, it's definitely I don't know if I want to say it's like Pandora's box, but it does feel that way. I don't think we're going to take a step back. I don't think anyone's really going to take a step back. I think we're already seeing people, reveal the inner workings of these systems just by using some verbal trickery, right? It's not like you got to be a computer scientist in order to figure this stuff out. You just need to know English, right? You just need to know how to communicate.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's definitely going to open the way for some really interesting sort of like, I mean, we've already taken a look at prompt poisoning attacks. We've taken a look at all sorts of attacks. And then obviously the information disclosure attack for a Bing GPT, right? Getting it to reveal its inner workings. So I think prompt poisoning will be really big. It's going to, the theoretical example that we went over on my stream was, basically if I were to write some code and that code was malicious, and then I sort of obfuscated it a little bit, and then people were asking for a solution to a popular problem on Bing GPT or Chat GPT or whatever, or GitHub Copilot, and I put enough vulnerable code samples and I made it associate my code samples with whatever they're talking about, whatever they're trying to solve, the legitimate thing. Like maybe they're saying, "Oh, I want to make a REST API or whatever." And also, hi Hellraiser. I want to make a REST API, that does this, that, and the other thing. If I manage to get enough of those keywords and get the AI model to eventually associate these terms with my malicious code, then you can potentially just get AI to start serving your vulnerable code up to people who are just copying, developers who copy and paste from Stack Overflow. They copy and paste from these models. And then essentially, we just see that, sometimes they introduce vulnerabilities. They'll just introduce vulnerabilities into their code as a result of that. There have already been some reported cases of that. So I think it's super interesting. I think it's just going to be a huge, huge, huge issue going on, especially as people are probably just going to cheat on all their interviews using ChatGPT, using this and that and the other thing, and then they get to the job and then they're going to do the same thing, right? They're just going to keep asking for code from an AI model and then use that to not get fired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
ideally, that's their ideal scenario, right?
And I mean, that's not totally unheard of, right? There's a great deal of people out there in the world who are working jobs in tech who get their code off the internet and then just make adjustments to it, because first of all, why would you reinvent the wheel if somebody already did it? But at the same time, that drive to, be efficient and effective at your job and all the other things that capitalism does to the working class, you're going to seek to cut any corner you can to stay ahead on that edge. And having it associated, like you said, with these kind of things, we're not saying it's definitely going to happen, but from where we're standing, we can look out and we can see it, and it makes sense that we're going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, hackers are infinitely curious, infinitely capable. So I think, we'll see more of it. We definitely haven't seen the last, prompt injection attack. We haven't seen the last, model poisoning attack. It's only the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Guaranteed.
There's a video, there's a guy, he's a British guy, Tom Scott. You ever seen any of his videos? He goes places and does things.
Let me look him up. I don't know who that is. Goes places? Is he the guy? Oh wait, is he a British dude? Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Someone told me to follow him, and I followed him a couple streams ago.
He recently did a video on AI, and he was talking about the sigmoid curve of new technology, where you come in, the new technology is discovered, and then all sorts of new shit starts coming out, and things it's almost a wild west with the explosion of new and interesting technologies, and then it gradually flattens out, either as you get some kind of market domination or the extent of the technology has been reached. Do you have an opinion on where in that curve AI and machine learning would be? Do you think we're in the early stages and we're going to see a lot of explosion over the coming, let's say, decade? Or do you think we're closer to the top where we're going to reach some technical limitations that are going to flatten out and plateau us for a while?
I think we're moving really fast. I think it will slow down eventually, and there'll be a boom bust cycle probably of new applications of AI, new breakthroughs in AI. I think we are pretty much at the beginning. I mean, TensorFlow, right? The way that people were doing this. I mean, I've seen lots of people build lots of machine learning projects at these events called hackathons, right? So all these kids get together and they start trying to make stuff, right? They're trying to make stuff in a weekend. So basically, oh, what's up? No, nothing. But basically, I think that now we're at the point where it's proliferating really, really quickly because, although anyone can download TensorFlow and make their own ML model and differentiate between a cupcake or a muffin, now we're getting to the point where people are able to start to do more interesting things with AI, on their own. Whether it's through, we have somebody in chat, I'm not going to call him out, but he's launched multiple chat GPT based applications / businesses, like little services. And he doesn't know how to code at all. Well, I wouldn't say at all. He doesn't know he says that he's not a programmer at all, not a developer at all, right? I think he's a little bit of a hacker, just in a different way, right? He's a little bit of a figuring out hacking things together. But he basically has made things like give me a house description. I'm going to give you all these data points on a house and then generate a house description for me. For like Zillow. So he's like made that into like a service that people can just like hit, and it's like it goes back to Chat GPT, does very simple stuff. So yeah, I think that sort of stuff is interesting. I think we're gonna hit a wall. I think it will be able to do whatever. Chat GPT is already being used for phishing by Russians, JR Star. They generate templates with it. So yeah, but that's kind of where my head's at right now is like we're going really fast. We're gonna hit a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know when. I can't predict it.
Right.
But right now it does seem like everything's. It seems like we're probably at the beginning of the curve or on the way up. We're either at like the beginning of the curve or on the way up. What up, Crix? Good to see you. But yeah, I think we're not at the top. Definitely, I don't think we're at the top. We might be at the top for this like boom bust cycle of AI. But I think then eventually, there'll be more stuff like recombinant neural networks, things like that, that'll start to like, researchers, people working on chips, people working on like interesting applications of, AI and ML. They'll probably have some breakthroughs, and then we'll probably have another little boom bust cycle or something like that.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong about the technology aspect of it, if you know, of course. But like a lot of AI is run via GPUs, like the relatives of the GPUs that we have in our computers, our graphics processing units that are in our regular home computers. There was a great deal of GPUs that were used by the cryptocurrency industry before it hit its bust. Are these ideas compatible? Are the cryptocurrency GPUs that might still be out there that are going for cheap because they've been run through the ringer capable of running these AI and machine learning programs?
Probably the lighter payloads, but not like the really heavy ones. People are using like really heavy duty NVIDIA GPUs that are designed for server workloads for this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So like there's specific GPUs that people are using. Yeah, like certain models. I forget it. Like P1000. Guys, correct me. Chat. Someone of you knows P1000, A1000, whatever that shit's called. You guys know what I'm talking about. But here, I'll find it right now. P1000. NVIDIA. Yeah, P1000 Quadro server GPU. I think there's also like a P100. P100 data center accelerator. Yep. The Pascal GPU architecture. Yep. High performance computing, AI. Yep. So that's basically it. Tesla P100s, NVIDIA Tesla P100s, and then I think there's like P1000s and stuff like that. I think the P1000 is cheaper. The P100 I think is a beefy one, but
and
yeah.
GPU stands for graphics processing unit, right? Like if I recall correctly.
Exactly.
But these ones on the server, they don't process any graphics, do they?
So that's a good question. So most of the time servers are like headless, which means like you just get a terminal, right? Like you see me messing around in like, typing stuff in and
right.
like, just like a normal terminal, text-based terminal. Here, sorry, I'll share a little. But yeah, basically I think mostly it's like the CUDA cores is what matters. I think it's mostly CUDA cores. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But I think for AI, ML, deep learning, stuff like that, like the A100s have been outperforming just about everything. I'm not sure what spec it is that they have that's like outperforming everything, but what is it heavy on, guys? Somebody here has to know. but I'm pretty sure it's Q-to-cores. Pretty sure it's Q-to-cores. It does require some processor power too.
And what is a Q-to-core?
That is a good question. So basically, it's like basically a CPU core, but for a GPU.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, it's probably a little more nuanced than that, but it's just like it's so you can do a lot of things at once. Basically, and the more Q-to-cores you have, the more stuff you can do on the GPU at once.
Right, and this is for people who aren't necessarily computer literate. This is why, like a quad-core processor is significantly advanced over a single-core processor, is because it can do many things at the same time, which is better all the way around, basically.
Yeah, and it like all works together. Like Virtual Tac is saying, we sometimes call it parallel processing. You know, if you want to get really technical, we're just saying that like parallel, right? Like going the same way, and processing isn't doing something. So like if you had if you have two runners running, right, and they're passing the baton to each other, that's great. But if you could somehow use the speed of these two runners and put them together, wouldn't that be even better? So, that's kind of a weird way of putting it, but it checks out.
Yeah, it makes sense. And when we eventually hit quantum computing, that's going to be the game changer in a variety of fashion. Do you maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you have an idea on like when you think that quantum computing is going to be more readily available to like regular folks?
Not for a very long time. Not for like years and years and years. Probably after we're both gone, honestly.
Okay.
Like, quantum computers are just like extremely inaccessible. Like you can simulate them with the hardware that you have now, but you're not going to have a big one, right? Quantum computers basically are just like super refrigerators, right? And there's like quantum machine learning, which is interesting, and that's coming up. But because we're not going to need ridiculous quantum computers, we'll be using like a mix of like quantum and classical computers together. So like they're, basically you can mix quantum and classic data together and quantum and classic algorithms together, and then you can get like different results. So you could get like quantum classical, and you could get like classical quantum, and it's really weird. But basically all you need to know is like from that regard is like, yeah, quantum computing will definitely work together with machine learning to help us figure out problems that like both of these things would be really good at solving together. And there's a lot of stuff you can watch on YouTube about quantum machine learning as well. There's some very popular videos. There aren't a lot because it's pretty niche, as I'm sure you can just imagine from the name. But basically, like there's some cool advantages that we get from like quantum prediction, and applying those to machine learning would be very interesting in my opinion. And that's what this is exactly about. But yeah, sorry, was that kind of close to the, I guess, yeah, you're saying like quantum computers just aren't going to be readily available to your average Joe. It's just like, there's no reason. It's just not going to happen for a very long time. They're too expensive.
Yeah.
Like the size of a room,
I mean, by the same token, like, the IBM and, those old school computers that we always see in the, 1960s were the size of a room. So, but that, again, that's the 1960s. That's 50, 60 years ago. So it's definitely possible for that kind of window to be something, at best. If like we don't know what quantum computers, are they going to be something that you would even need, right? Because that's also,
yeah, your average Joe just doesn't need one. Nobody needs one. Right. Unless you're doing research, unless you're in a lab, unless you're a scientist, if you're trying to do stuff like that, then yeah, you'll probably have access to a real one. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I think everyone's just going to have access to a simulated one if they need one, but nobody's going to need one because there are no practical uses of quantum computing for a user end behavior. It could be used server side for encryption, but it's never going to be done on users' machines. At least during our lifetime, I'm willing to make that prediction because of just like size constraints and like basically it's like it comes down to like refrigeration technology, which is funny. But these are basically just huge like metal chandeliers, tons of copper tubing, and they haven't gotten much smaller. So yeah, I think it's going to take a really, really long time. This is like I'd say as far as quantum computing goes, we're in like the string computer, phase. Like we're doing string computers basically, just like the old computers that were like, basically woven circuits and stuff like that, and very primitive, right? We're in an extremely primitive era. Although it looks very cool and very interesting, we're using our top of the line technology. I'm sure that you know, yeah, if we look at it in 50 years, we're going to be like, oh wow, like we were doing it all like very poorly, right? A lot of the problems with quantum computing right now are noise. Thank you for the follow, Brian. Oh, hey, Brian. A lot of the problems with quantum, I hope you're well, man. A lot of the problems with quantum computing right now are related to error checking and error correction, things like that. So it's like extremely unstable, right? So like even if we were able to like somehow bring it down, we're going to have those problems, but like on a smaller scale, which would just be harder to deal with. But since we're using such large scale equipment at this point in time, it makes it slightly easier to deal with.
No, that's from what you're saying, like eventually it made sense for people to have regular PCs in their home, but yeah, I can't imagine what someone would need that processing power for, but I could be like that guy like Bill Gates who no one's going to need more than like 128 kilobytes of memory or whatever the hell he said. So who knows? Do you want to take a look at some of these articles?
Yeah, sure. Did any of them catch your eye? I know I dropped a couple, but
Well,
I don't
the
even
one we kind of touched on with related to people using Chat GPT to, do phishing content and other things. That seems to be something that's going over the, well trodden ground. But there's this article here about artificial intelligence transforming the stock market. And what people may know or not know is that the way that the stock market currently works is it's not like it was in the TV shows and movies with a bunch of people yelling buy, sell, and like that. Like most of the stock market is done by these microtransactions happening very quickly through computers. And the idea that they could be using AI, okay, so like right here, one of the most prominent advantages of using AI for trading is speed. An artificial intelligent piece of software can scrape the internet in search of information in a matter of minutes, but even more impressively, it can process all that information in the blink of an eye, something that would take humans hours to do equally thoroughly. And that's really something that I see is like combining that, because the way that the stock market runs is on these a lot of it is like futures and speculation, right? So if the AI is able to scrape news from points like that are very close to the, like, okay, one thing, if you've ever saw I can't remember the movie now. It was Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd back in the day. The point
I don't know the second name. I know the name, but I can't put a face. I don't know any celebrities.
Yeah,
I'm not good at that.
I'm the same way. I'm very good with faces, not good with names. If Lenny was still here, he could probably tell me what the name of the movie is. But it was Trading Places. That's the one. Basically what it was is that they were the concept of the movie is that they were that these two rich assholes did some rich asshole shit and made one guy rich and powerful and took the other guy's rich and powerful life away, and then they team up in order to fuck over the two old rich guys. And the way that they do that is using orange juice futures, right? Like they get the numbers beforehand and they're able to, buy and sell all the futures and make all the money and bankrupt the other guys.
Yeah, sure.
This is the way that the stock market works to a large extent. The commodity speculation market is very large, and if people know anything, is like, there's stops and there's other terminology related to that, but you can make a whole bunch of money. You probably know it maybe with the meme stocks of like GameStop and shit like that. The point is that like if I know that the price of the orange juice is going to go up by a fraction of a cent faster than another guy, then I can make that money before he does. And it's all done by computers, with the AI being able to, scrape that information from a news site, like maybe a local news in Florida gets a weather thing and they do something like that. This is going to increase that that aggression within that market, and that's just the way that I see that happening. I kind of ventured off into the woods there, but for this reason, AI has the potential to aid traders in making quicker investing decisions. And again, a lot of this is not related to like someone actively pushing a button. The computer just does it at the appropriate time based on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, quantum computing and AI are good, or seen as like good things to apply to the field of finance, healthcare, and a couple other things that I can't remember right now, like generating new medicines, right? That's something quantum computers are supposed to be really good at. Modeling financial data, that's something quantum computers are supposed to be really good at. So like there are a lot of these like really good industrial applications of quantum computers, like things that quantum computers are going to be good at, because we're like basically doing really, really weird stuff. Hey, what's up, Lar? Thank you. So we're basically doing really, really weird stuff with quantum computers, and machine learning is a little more applicable in a lot of other things. So when we're trying to, because basically when we're using quantum computers, we are kind of like dealing with the fundamental constants of the universe, and we're basically using them to apply to sort of arrive closer to like things that might be true. Like it'll give us new, like say, oh, you should use these chemicals and synthesize this drug, or oh, the market's performing like this and that and the other thing. It's going to make, might make this sort of curve, might make that sort of curve, or might make this sort of curve. Everything else is, less likely. So it's probabilistic amplitudes is the way to like, I guess if anyone here is like, oh, Kyle, explain it sciencely. It's probabilistic amplitudes. That's how quantum computers work. And then we know that machine learning and AI are just linear algebra, right? So when you put these two things together, it's really interesting in my opinion. It's really effective. It's more effective than either of them alone, right? But the sort of things that quantum computers are good at, and the sort of things that machine learning and a lot of data are good at. Some of them are the same. Machine learning and AI are really good at, as we know right now, right? These specific narrow AIs are really good at really human stuff, except they're really bad at basically everything else, right? They're good at really human stuff, but if you wanted to build Skynet or whatever, if you wanted to build some all-encompassing, like self-refining, like AI demigod, they're just not good at that yet. So yeah, I think it's interesting, especially when applied with quantum computers. I think it's going to be a really interesting sort of like run, in this sort of like AI ML sort of like boom bust cycle, right? I think it's going to be a really, really interesting run. People started using TensorFlow, and then ML was like whoop going up, and now this whole like MLAI, Midjourney, all that stuff, it feels like it's going really, really up to the peak. So yeah, it might come crashing down, or just like flat out stabilize, normalize. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think AI skills are expensive, right? So they're saying right here, AI solutions are still expensive, and it's the same thing as like quantum computing. But yeah, I think AI ML is probably going to be like that's the type of stuff that people will be able to mess around with a little more, and they'll be able to implement on their own, and like stuff like this, like normal everyday trader, like coming up with like really, really good financial investment decision from AI is like it's very unlikely and still some time away. You know what I mean? But like nation states, the U.S. government, and like really, really wealthy billionaires or whatever might be able to obtain a quantum computer, they might be able to rent one sometime on a real one. And your ordinary person could rent some time on a real one. There's just like nothing useful anyone could really do with it outside of like research. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting space to be in. I think these two things are a little more related than other people think, and the wide varying applications that we have of like ML and AI, and like just applying data to problems. Cracking RSA, yeah, we're cracking RSA, but that's so far off from what we're talking about. But what's up, man? Basically, putting these two things together essentially, I think, opens up a whole new world of possibilities. I still just don't think like quantum is just like so far from like consumer. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it would be super interesting, but like I just like I don't know because like here's what people like the financial models, right? We're trying to do things that like resemble nature. We're trying to like understand things that resemble nature in some ways, right? So people say like the stock market resembles nature, and obviously like medicine, right? Like medicine's a medicine, and all the components are obviously found around us. So yeah, I think it's interesting to see like how this stuff will play out. I guess I'm not very optimistic about it because as somebody who's had access to quantum computers, it's just like extremely hard. And then as somebody who's seen access to large models, it's been extremely hard. And just like storing the data, having petabytes and petabytes of data, which is like what all these models are trained on, is just not really feasible for your average person. Might be in the future, but yeah, when Sarsak's talking about cracking RSA. Yeah, we're talking about Shor's algorithm. That's something quantum computers are specifically really good at. But that's also just like, not a thing that your average everyday person's gonna be like, oh, I can't wait to crack RSA. You know what I mean? Because then you're doing the crimes. But yeah, I think. Go ahead.
No, if you had a thought, you by all means.
No, I was just riffing.
What you said, you're talking about the the petabytes of data. Like, if would it be possible to set up that offsite where like someone with this server space and the space to hold that kind of data had it accessible, like an open source data set that I could use my home computer to tap into in order to offset that, because that seems to be the issue, is the storage of the data set, not the actual computing itself. Or is that out of
people are training them. No, you're right. People are training the models, but usually, yeah, the data is private. Oh, I wish I could find this. There's like a Google so this like jukebox thing, right? This music jukebox is like basically made out of I think like 2 billion songs or something wild like that. Like there are a ton of songs, and it's all put together. So like yeah, people can just use like what they call like a cloud playbook or something like that. Like Google, I don't know, it's somewhere like Google Playbook or something like that. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, Jukebox AI is like an open AI thing, and they have a Discord, and I went down the rabbit hole, and I went like really, really down the rabbit hole in the open AI Jukebox Discord, and then I found like there were some Google playlists that people were coming up with, like Google Cloud like playbooks or something like that, and you could basically just like spin one up. It looks like a Jupyter Notebook for everyone in my chat who's like, what's he talking about? It looks like a Jupyter Notebook. If someone knows the name, please tell me. And you click the play button and you put in the parameters that you want, and then it just runs the code that somebody's already written, and it taps into the model, and it takes a really, really long time because it's really slow, and it's done on like the free tier, and they have like different GPUs that you can use for the higher tiers and stuff like that. But yeah, like are people able to access large amounts of data? Yeah. Storing it's really hard. Doing novel things with it's really hard, and I think that's like currently the place we're at. Like people could use AI in interesting ways, maybe if they had access to large amounts of data. It's the data that's usually the secret sauce, right? That's the thing that's being commoditized. So like sometimes, these models like ChatGPT come out, or like people work on like open source versions where you can, feed it your own model. But yeah, it's entirely, based on the user and like how much data they're going to have access to. And like, usually that data is harvested from you, not like given back to you, right? So yeah, I think that's one of the major deficits that we'll see when like it comes to like your everyday average person like trying to learn AI is like access to good data sets. There are websites like Kaggle. Actually, I just remembered that. Here we go. Here it is, racial bias database. Here you go, guys. So like, yeah, here's just an example of a Kaggle data set. Kaggle, I don't know how you say it. I know Kaggle's an exercise, but there you go. I think it's Kaggle. I'm gonna say Kaggle because Kaggle's the other thing. But basically, guys, check this out. Data sets, right? Check it out. You go here, you click on this. COVID-19 data. World COVID-19 data. Would you look at that yet? So you got all sorts of stats, okay? Keep scrolling as to your heart's content. Look at all the data. These are all the dates. These are all the numbers in the different countries. I think it was Afghanistan is the first one or something like that. So look at that. You just keep scrolling, and then you can see a number go up or a number go down. And then you could visualize all this, and you can put it in whatever, model you want. And maybe you could predict future numbers or whatever you feel like you should do. But yeah, predictions and stuff like that, not always accurate. But here we go. 1/12, 2023. That's the last thing we saw. And they had 0 reported that day. some zeros mixed in here. So yeah, you could definitely take a look at this. Seems like they got 603 columns, which means that's a lot of places that they have data for. Each of these is a place: Albania, Algeria, you know. So yeah, guys, go ahead, check out data, do machine learning if you want. It's linear algebra, and you can learn it all by just looking at TensorFlow tutorials. They're all on the internet.
Yeah,
It's all over here. I'll pull up a good one.
There's a surprising amount of the internet I think that people don't interact with on the daily basis. Like, you just went to a place and you got all this data. Like, it exists out there and it's accessible, but I think people don't even know the right questions to ask to find the information that they might be looking for. And I see that as where something like the Bing AI or the Chat GPT with Google could assist them in finding those kind of things, you know, with, of course, all the caveats involved in something like that.
Yeah, I think you know, just AI assisted chatbots are definitely a good thing for like people trying to learn stuff. But yeah, I think yeah, just the what is it? What's the word? I wish I could remember. Shoot. Sorry, what was the question again? I'm
It
trying to
wasn't
remember.
really a question, just talking about how, like, the AI is going to maybe increase people's abilities to find what, because one of the things is people don't know the right question to ask, and having an interpreter or go-between could be helpful in that regard. But one of the things that I've loved, like as an aside, unrelated specifically to what we're talking about, with first going on TikTok and seeing like the neurodivergent sections of TikTok and interacting with streamers, like, for personally, I thought like there were certain things that I did that were like weird, like that just my certain aspects of my behavior, the fact that I, you know, space out in the middle of a thought and can't remember a particular word and any of that, and seeing other people, you know, it's like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not like weird. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of us out here.
I think weird is normal, right?
Right.
But shit, what was I gonna? Oh yeah, okay, you reminded me. So basically, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if like, you know, we have the best freaking chatbot in the world, right? If people can't ask good questions, you know what I mean? Because it's not going to be able to infer what you mean. It's only going to be able to take what you say, find the closest stuff, and then return whatever back to you. So I think it's not that big of a deviation from modern chatbots. They just perform a little better, doing the same thing that modern chatbots and modern search engines were doing, right? Just like in the chatbot. So I don't think there's a huge deviation. I'd like to see more. I'd like to see things, you know, becoming better at like suggesting content, right? Like I think that would be really interesting. But also, when you think about it that way, like you're just going to get put into your own echo chamber where it's just like, oh, you liked this thing in the past, so you must like everything related to this thing, or you must only like things related to this thing. So yeah, algorithms are still garbage, which is like mainly my number one concern for like chatbot search engines, because like it's just going to like keep stuff that like people that may be relevant or that people may be interested in. It's going to like make sure that result isn't shown sometimes, you know, because it's going to have this sort of idea that like, oh, maybe, you know, maybe since this isn't close to what they asked me about orange juice, they're not going to like this answer about puppies. You know what I mean?
Right. But like, I mean, one of the things that we already see with Google is, you know, how they use, how both companies use and Google uses search engine optimization to put certain things ahead of other things as it is. And I feel like people being able to, you know, with something like, you know, where you have a Siri or something like that, where you can speak naturally to it, and then it's translated through these language models, where Google, if you're not Googling correctly, like using, you know, what is it, the pluses and minuses and, you know, quotation marks and everything else like that, Google is going to maybe sometimes have a problem giving you what it is that you're asking about, you know. Like they recently something that like I love Shazam, right? Like I hear a song, I hit the Shazam button, now that song is in my Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
There was another thing that recently came out. I don't know who's doing it. It might be an Apple product where you can like hum to it. And this is something that I wanted like, like a few years back, like specifically trying to get Google, the Google Voice um thing to listen to that and somehow get results out of it. So I kind of feel like people are going to be, if they can speak more naturally to the AI than the chatbot, than the Google machine, they are going to be able to maybe get some better answers. I don't know if it's going to offset the amount of like SEO and everything else that is naturally going to follow.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think it's better than just plain old search engines, right? Or like plain old chatbots.
Yeah.
100%. I think the thing in question is like, how, so what I was saying is like, I don't think it's much better, right? But I think relative to what we have, like, yeah, obviously it's better. But I'm saying like grand scale of things, it's like, it's just basically better Google search, right? Like, this is essentially what it boils down to, which is good. It's a good thing. But okay, guys, I also posted Fast AI. I finally found the deep learning shit I was looking for. I finally found it. So that's the course. But yeah, I think and honestly, I tried to do this course years ago. So if one of you makes it through it, let me know because you're a champ. It's really hard. Hey Tej. But yeah, we're talking about AI and welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. Globus has been doing a ton of these AI streams, AI like art streams and stuff like that. We've been talking about everything from oh wait, how to find your name here? But yeah, welcome. And yeah, shout out to Globus, guys. Go drop him a follow right now. He's been doing lots of these. He's been doing lots of the AI art streams. And yeah, it's been pretty interesting. So yeah, we're just talking a little bit. We were talking about some articles and stuff. So if you have any questions, Ted, just drop them in, all right?
And there's a section of this article that we're looking at now under improved customer service, third paragraph. With artificial intelligence software, simple requests can be met in minutes without relying on an excessive employee involvement. And best of all, the results are immediately felt as operational costs are vastly reduced. The speed with which matters are taken care of also results in significant improvement in customer satisfaction rates. This is one of the aspects of this current industrial revolution, I think, that is markedly different from previous ones, is where previous industrial revolutions have generally only affected, blue collar workers with automation of some of their jobs, and then new jobs are created, so on and so forth. The way that AI has been progressing, and the chatbots that you deal with when you contact your phone company or your electric company or any of those kind of things, this is all developing up to a point where like there's a lot of people who stand to lose their employment, because why would I hire a human being to do something that can essentially be automated and then just have a skeleton crew of a few people to answer the last remaining questions that the AI can't, this kind of thing. Do you see a similar thing happening, like as opposed to just blue collar workers being out of a job, like a lot of different people being out of a job?
I think customer service workers and blue collar workers, for all intents and purposes, are functionally equivalent. And I'm not saying they do the same job, but I'm saying they get paid the same wage. They both live under like pretty shitty conditions. They work under shitty conditions. I mean, I think it's literally the same. I think it's functionally equivalent from my perspective. But
well, let me clarify that. Like in this context, this job would probably be done by like a stockbroker, right? Like someone who actually went to school, passed the 2 exams, and like that. You can replace that guy who makes few $100,000 to a few million a year from your company coffers. Now you can keep that money and just automate that job. So that guy who normally would feel like somewhat above all this industrial revolution job loss is now
Yeah.
also going to be involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the truck drivers feel the same way. They feel like they got this job security, right? They did, at least until now. Now we got self-driving, right? AI, ML, etc. So I'd still see it as kind of like functionally equivalent. Even farmers, right? Farm hands, things like that.
Mhm.
But then, retail workers, right? Cashiers, right? And then, now even reporters, right? People writing articles.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'd say like it's not necessarily like I wouldn't even say that there's like a delineation. It's going to be a huge swath of people who all have like automatable jobs. Yeah, it might be some people with degrees here and there. Specifically in this case, yeah, probably some people with degrees or some people, have been working in the industry for a long time. They just won't be useful anymore. And yeah, people would love to trim the fat, so they say, right? But they're talking
Mhm.
about, basically just eliminating people's jobs. And yeah, I think functionally it'll like occur exactly the same way. It'll just occur the exact same way as any other job automation. People will just get fired in Swartz, and everyone will be like, damn, new tech, shiny and cool. And they won't give a second thought to it. It's probably what will happen.
Yeah.
Just like we did with everyone else, the cotton gin or whatever the heck, like
Yeah.
over time, right? It's just gonna happen. And we won't really think about it. We'll just be like, okay, yeah, efficiency, cool. New tech, cool, right? Even when it comes to the bankers or the investors or whatever, I think we're just gonna be like, meh, that's cool. We got rid of that guy,
hmm
That's one less thing to worry about, one less problem.
But I mean, not to get too like,
Mm.
I guess esoteric about the thing is like there is a tipping point. You can only have so much unemployment before the machine breaks down. So, like, and again, we don't necessarily have to go down this path, but if you want to, I'm available. Like one of the issues that workers have in the United States is that they lack a class consciousness. If people like, I feel like the AI, the Midjourney interacting with the art space really started to impart upon some people how this technology is going to impact them, and that they are, like you said, like we are all workers, right? Like you're either working class or capitalist class, and you, if you are a worker, you, they are coming for your job in some way, and you can build a class consciousness off of that. Do you see like something like that, potentially coming, or is it going to be like something bad is going to happen?
No, this is what I see coming, honestly. Like Star Trek, predicted it. They said in the 2020s, every city in America is going to have a place that looks like this. I
Mhm.
think we're already seeing it happening in the places where we've had immense automation and technological progress. Right, we've thrown people to the wayside as if they're disposable because the system treats them like they are. Right, so this is basically what I see. This is the future that we are carving out right now, especially with robust automation, AI, job replacement, seeing people as expendable. Yeah.
Well,
This is
hopefully
this is
we
what I
get
see.
the whole Star Trek package out of it, because if it just kind of stops there, I will be disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it is incredible because this is, basically they showed it this exact scene,
Yeah.
and it's basically if you whether you're looking at Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Chicago, blah blah blah. There's a place like this in every city in America now,
Yeah. Every
and
decent
I think.
sized city
Oh, sorry,
has
I was
a.
gonna say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, from what you said about like this potentially happening in the future. I think we're already there. I think people are already losing their jobs in Swartz. People's jobs are already getting automated, and it's even people, yeah, people who thought they were safe working in the grocery store, working in the warehouse, doing this and that. Skilled laborers, people who went to trade schools, unionists. Yeah, they're all losing their jobs, and I think it's just getting worse. And from my perspective, it's just getting worse. I think this image is extremely indicative of the economic times that we're in. This is in the pinnacle of America, right? The most technologically advanced city in America, and this is what it looks like. So yeah, I think it's I think we're already there. I think we're already there. I think it's just beginning, probably,
Yeah.
as far as like replacing people.
Ever since I saw a robot doing drywall, it was slow. It was, it wasn't great, but it was doing drywall. That's when I knew that like this is more of a serious issue than I think a lot of people, and it's one of the drivers. When Midjourney hit the art community, and when I saw the robot doing drywall,
Yeah.
like, I'm not saying that tomorrow we're gonna flip this switch, but we are headed on a trajectory where you could automate those jobs. The robot doesn't have to be fast; it just has to be accurate. And if the robot is accurate and can work 24 hours a day, you're out of a job. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah, true. Um, well, I mean, Sarsec, I wouldn't even say it's brain rot, dude. I think it's just like the system that we already have. Sarsec, I don't know if you have chat open. He says, I love how we're so brain rotted that we see huge improvements in automation as an issue. It is an issue if we're already not meeting the needs of everybody who needs a job, a place to stay. I know you're very Euro-brained, but we're very Amero-brained. Yeah, it's an issue under the current distribution, exactly. And obviously, technological advancements that are not, addressed at solving the issue are going to exacerbate it, especially when we're applying, massive amounts of automation to industries where people, rely on, reliable work in order to feed their families and, clothes and house themselves. Like, obviously, this is robust automation deleting jobs immediately is an issue.
Yeah, and that's ultimately, I'm a huge fan of automation. Like, I think that the idea of the robot doing drywall is great. Drywall is backbreaking work. It sucks ass. No one should be doing it if we can have a robot do it. The problem is the distribution. Like, the fact that someone needs that job. If people had the housing, the food, the healthcare, all the things that they need to survive, then these labor saving devices that we were sold would be saving labor, and we would all have more time to do shit. But certain people have to collect dollars for a living.
Then automation would be based, Sarsec, but it's not based due to the circumstance. Automation would be extremely based if we're making it so people don't have to go on roofs to repair shit, so people don't have to do dangerous jobs, but we're not doing that. In fact, we're going to keep the most dangerous and most complicated jobs, safe, just still delegate them to humans. And when we automate their jobs eventually, we're going to say, fuck you. We're not going to have an alternative for them.
Right.
We're just going to say, fuck you. That's all. So that's why automation's not based. That's why automation's shit. And I think you might need to reevaluate your perspective on that, my friend, because it's not brain rot to say that there are problems with automating everyone's jobs away. That's just very clearly true.
Right. It's based on the material conditions. If the material conditions were different, automation would be super based. The material
in the world we live in, yeah.
Capitalism, we're not taking care of people, and we need to take care of the people.
Yeah, humans may even select for bad, dangerous jobs. I don't know about that, dude. I don't think anyone really wants to do that shit. I don't think anyone wants to risk their life and, risk not going home to their significant other, their fucking offspring, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, especially when they could not do that. Like, there are people who
I see what Ted is saying.
Do, oil rigger jobs, which are dangerous but pay a lot of money, right? Like, they will do that
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Exactly. That's what he's saying. Yeah, he's saying, when jobs start to go away, people will be gung-ho to, hop on the cable and, climb up the pole or whatever, Yeah, I see what you're saying, Tej. I see what you're saying. I thought I just read your message alone without the idea of the automation, but yeah, I see what you're saying. People revolting, we have robots for that too, 100%. Yeah, I mean, the robots are going to just murder you. If you revolt, the robots will just murder you. Yeah, straight up. Tokyo Police Club wrote a whole album about it, guys. But yeah, I just think automation at this point in time is a step in the wrong direction, unfortunately, because people are just going to get screwed. RoboCop, yes, Arsec. But those are getting better, man. Those are memes, but they are getting, people are treating them like they're memes, but they are getting better for sure. And people are investing a lot of time and money into them.
Yeah.
They're popping up, man.
Yeah, we've had at least 2 cities that I'm aware of that at least test ran the robot dogs alongside their police force. But so here's another thing. This is one of those weird kind of things. Is like, we know that the police union is a very strong organization within this country, and they tend to fight for their chunk of the pie, right? The automation of their job, that could make the police anti-automation in that regard. So it's like a weird, a weird thing that could happen, but it's like, one of those let them fight scenarios where it's two bad guys going at each other.
Yeah, I don't really know. Law enforcement, I don't know where they stand on that issue, like automation and all that. I don't think they really think about it. Honestly, if I had to think about your typical law enforcement officer, I don't think they would ever even have an inkling to think about any automation happening to their job. Just because of their, my perception of their technical prowess, which is very limited. And technical understanding. They have very little to no technical understanding. I've talked to a lot of cops. I have some family members, unfortunately, who are distant family members, luckily, who are in the forces in New York. What do you think's safer? Industry coding? I mean, these are just way too broad. STEM versus art and publishing, that's just way too broad. I'd say STEM every time because I'm biased and because you can actually, make something that people see value in very, very easily, as opposed to like art and publishing where you need to put in, I think, a lot of work. But if you have a more in-demand skill, right, like a STEM, maybe, I don't know, it's too big. It's too big of a category. There's your answer, though. Yeah, art is not safe. Yeah, it never has been. Never has been. Neither is publishing. Publishing's poverty wages.
Yeah, and like art has literally never been safe. Like until you go back to like maybe the cavemen, art has never been safe because everyone you know of from art history was sponsored by some rich dude with money.
Rich dude. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's how that works. Like, so yeah, art is not safe. I am an artist. I make art, and it is not very, very lucrative. I also do electrical work, and that is far more lucrative and like that. So.
Yeah, Tej, art is already being replaced by AI. Music, posters, whatever you want, they'll just make it better than most people, right? And you'll be able to choose from a large variety of samples instantly. Art is done, in my opinion. Publishing on its way out. Yeah, if you want to, I don't know I know this is probably for your daughter. I'm assuming this is probably for your daughter. So I would say anything STEM related is going to be safer, right? It's going to be a better bet than anything art related any given day of the week. For money making, for being exploited for capital. Yep, exactly. Just curious. Yeah. I feel you, man. Yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it.
Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me.
I think
Pepe
publishing
Sylvia,
is
Pepe
done.
Sylvia. I look in the mail.
Well,
Look, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia.
Those people will be next on the chopping block. Yeah, I think musicians, maybe we'll resurrect Tupac and Biggie or something and start making new albums with them collaborating and telling the kids to get along. I don't know. But we can do whatever we want. The sky's the limit. There's nothing holding us back when it comes to art. Yeah, deep fakes, exactly. There's nothing holding us back when it comes to art. There's nothing holding us back when it comes to literature, publishing, poetry, whatever. It's no longer bound by human creativity.
Yeah.
So, I was going to say, STEM is always going to be a safer bet because you're just going to actually have skills that people are going to need no matter what, and that are really easy to commoditize. You poke button, you make money.
Right.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Globus.
No, because that's 100% like art is subjective by its very nature, where like literally I need this piece of code and I need thing to do X, and these are easily understandable parameters that can be commoditized, and that makes capital happy. So yes, absolutely 100% STEM. I mean, we're not, again, I'm not saying tomorrow, but like we are not that far off from, a world in which people can like tailor make their own stuff. The way that, like, I don't know if you've seen any of the shorts of like Joe Biden and Donald Trump playing Minecraft together, or any of the video game stuff. Like the voices are getting better, right? Like, and that's the thing is like, I don't need the AI to be perfect. It just has to be capable. Once it's capable, then on a long enough timeline, it will eventually trend to being at least good enough, if not perfect. So you're going to be able to have like whatever movie you want catered to your experience, generated by various kinds of AI and CG, and you're going to watch that movie, and then, it will exist, and maybe someone else will watch it on whatever that version of YouTube will be, or maybe they won't, and it'll just be your personal private movie. But you're going to have Brad Pitt and like Fred Astaire in the same movie, and it's all going to be computer generated. I guarantee you that will happen at some point. I could be dead. It could be in 2 weeks. The way that this stuff moves, I don't know.
Yeah, there's already stuff going on with the I don't know. I think you saw it, the AI generated Seinfeld whatever on
Mhm.
Twitch.
Nothing
So like, yeah,
forever.
it's not gonna take long at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. What up, Wusa? Hey, thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you.
And I'm sorry, I didn't see the name, but thank you for the follow. I assume it's somebody from your community who came over.
Oh, was it Arberlin?
No, is that
I think
Arberlin?
Arberlin.
No, Arberlin is one of mine.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The Arberlin, I think I met Arberlin in Levelheads
Mm.
chat many moons ago. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm wondering who you got.
it was.
Guys, follow Globus if you
I think it
haven't.
was like I_ something.
Oh, okay. Cool. Guys, follow him. Make sure you're following.
Yeah, I do this Mondays and Fridays, and then on Wednesdays I talk with Arun and No about South Asian politics, Indian politics, Sri Lanka. Those are usually heavier discussions, but there's a lot of important stuff going on in that section of the world. I think that Americans especially, but a lot of us in the West, many caveats, many crime bunnies, the West, we tend to lose sight of the rest of the world, and the rest of the world is as important as everything else. And understanding, because this is something I say all the time, is like, governments be damned, states be damned. You and the dude in Iran, the dude in China, the dude in Congo, regular folk, we're all just regular folk, and we want to eat and sleep and fuck and create and and have a roof over our head. We're very similar people. Just cultural differences. It's the governments and all the power structures that want us to do stupid shit. So yeah, you should follow me because I'm fucking hilarious on the internet.
Definitely do it, guys. It looks like it's so good to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Yo, Wusa, your emote has become Levelhead's favorite emote, by the way. He says that it's going to be his most used emote of the year. I fucking love that. Thank you, man. Oh, no worries, man. See you later, bro. I'll clip this out or something. All right. Cool. I think that's probably about it, right? Or do we have anything else you want to talk about?
No, and there's another article here, but I feel like we, and you probably want to get onto some other shit, and I'm just about probably at the point where I should wrap up because I'm old. But yeah, no, it's always a pleasure, and I look forward to speaking with you again. And yeah, and this was great as always, and I'll probably see you in your chat because I mod for him. I mod for many people. Everyone I mod for is awesome, and you should just ask me who I mod for, and I will direct you there. And these are all the awesome people on Twitch, and life is good.
It's true.
All right, homie.
Very true.
I will catch you.
All right, my man. Peace out, dude. Thanks for having me. See ya.
All right, folks. I hope you enjoyed that episode, that conversation. That's why we love you. So yeah. Again, new schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I hope to see you all on Wednesday. All the links will be in the Discord as usual. The VOD will be up shortly after I hit stop streaming, and like that. And for everyone who's watching on the VOD, by all means, come visit. You know what time it is. It is time to take you folks to the paradigm shift. It was a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you hopefully on Wednesday. Oh, he's doing a panel. All right. All sorts of caveats. I don't know what we're getting into. In the meantime, drink your water, eat some food, take your meds if you forgot. Shoggy loves you. So do I.